You can use arrays filter method to filter elements from an existing array. Let's say if I want to get score which is greater than 75 in the scores array, then I can use scores filter method for that. Let's try to do it. For that, I'm going to say scores.filter. And when I hover over that method, it looks a lot like map method, but the major difference is it takes predicate as the function reference, whereas map takes callback as the function reference. The difference between predicate and callback function is predicate has to return true or false in the function, whereas callback function doesn't have to do that. And it makes sense, right? Because we're checking if each element is greater than 75 or not as a condition, and then we can receive that array in local variable. Let's first try to create that function which returns true or false depending on if the value is greater than 75 or not. For that, I'm gonna say function is score greater than 75. And if I hover over this filter method, it passes each element as the first parameter. So I can grab that here in the predicate function. And then I'm going to check if the value is greater than 75, then return true, else return false. Now I can pass this function as parameter to this filter method, and then I can receive the filtered array into a local variable. I'm going to say let awesome scores is equal to scores.filter is score greater than 75. And let's try to print that awesome score right next to it. So if I refresh the page and click on submit, it's going to print my good scores array, which is adding 3 to each score and then printing it. And then I'm filtering my array to check if the score is greater than 75 or not, and storing that in awesome scores. And then again, I'm printing good scores. So let's change that to awesome scores here, and then refresh the page and click on submit. And then it's going to print my filtered array in my console log. It's going to check if each element is greater than 75 or not, and then it will print those elements in the console log. So this is how filter works. You can pass predicate function to it and check each element for a condition and return filtered array in a local variable here. Now let's try to convert this function into an arrow function. For that, I'm going to remove this function keyword and then say is score greater than 75 is a function which takes value as a parameter. And then I'm going to use arrow sign here to direct it to a definition here. But the best part about JavaScript and the filter method is we know that we are just checking if the value is greater than 75 or not. So I can literally cut this condition and assign it to my arrow function. And then I do not need the definition where I'm saying if, else, return true or false. I do not need that. I only need the condition which is checking if the value is greater than 75 or not. Now, if I refresh the page and click on submit, that's going to print my good scores array and the filtered array like it did before. And now I can pass this function definition as parameter in the filter method instead of passing the function reference here. Now, if I refresh the page, click on submit, that is also going to work. So if I had to read this, it's saying scores.filter where value is greater than 75 and store that in awesome scores. So this is how you can use filter method and use arrow functions to filter elements from an existing array and store it in a local variable. In the next section, I'm going to talk about sum and every functions.